Imagine standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing you wasted the potential that He blessed you with in this life. SubhanAllah. Unfortunately, that's the reality for so many of us. Most of us let our minds run wild, feeding on distractions, scrolling, watching, consuming, all while letting our purpose and dreams slip further away. And before even talking about setting up a business, making money, building wealth in a halal way, you need to understand that we live in a time where controlling your mind is more valuable than any amount of money. Our Prophet ﷺ said, "The strong believer is more beloved to Allah than the weak believer." But now, be honest with me. Are you living up to that? Are you a strong believer? Mentally, physically? What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and true success, both in this world and the hereafter, is your mind? And the most important thing that you have to realize is that as a Muslim, you can become rich in all aspects of life. And please be honest with me. How are you spending your time? Because I'm seeing so many Muslims wasting their time. And yes, of course, you can still follow the 5 pillars of Islam. You know, having your faith, praying your 5 daily prayers, giving zakat now and then, fasting during Ramadan, and going to Hajj when you're capable of doing that. But I'm seeing so many Muslims still living a very unhealthy lifestyle. Gaming all day, watching Netflix, scrolling to social media, not having any money, not taking care of their finance, and not being able to provide for their families. But why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you everything. He gave you a brain to think. He gave you a body to take care of. And He gave you time to use the most valuable asset that we have. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He is the one who created death and life in order to test which of you is the best in deeds. And He is the Almighty, all-forgiving. Did you read that? Which of you is the best in deeds? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting us. He's challenging us. Or what do you think about this verse? Truly, Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what's in themselves. Did you saw that? Until they change. It starts with you taking action if you want to change your life. You see, in so many places of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly inviting you to do better. Then why are you scrolling on social media all day? You must strive for your potential, man. It doesn't have to be this way. As a Muslim, you can have a life where you do everything based on true purpose, living a healthy lifestyle, taking care of your body, creating real impact on the world with everything that you do, being able to make money in a halal way, while having plenty of time to memorize the Quran, focus on your deen, and being able to provide for your family and your loved ones. So today, we are going to be optimizing your mindset for success in both this world and the next one, inshallah. And in order to create a mindset that serves us as Muslims, we are going to focus on 7 aspects in this video, starting with developing a growth mindset. Then we are going to focus on habits, how to create them, what kind of impact they have, how to get rid of bad habits, and how to replace them with good ones. We are going to focus on time management, how to schedule your tasks in the right way and use your time effectively. Also, we are going to look into the apps and software in order to increase your focus. It's also very important that you learn how to handle stress, setting up your workspace in the right way that can boost your focus and productivity. The last thing is that we focus on how to stay consistent and disciplined, because that's one of the most important things when you want to focus on growth. And like I said, life is a test and therefore full of challenges. And every time we get confronted with a challenge, our brain needs to make a decision. Now, some people choose to panic, others try to find a solution, some people procrastinate and don't do anything, and other people stay calm. Now, it's very important that you train your brain in the most effective way and get rid of habits like panicking, procrastination, and things like that. It's important that you always stay calm and find a solution. And in order to achieve that, it's important that you start focusing on developing a growth mindset. And in order to develop that growth mindset, you need to change your perspective. Instead of thinking in problems, you must learn to think in solutions. Most people that focus on problems are saying things like, I can't do it, it's too hard, why me? But people that think in solutions say things like, how can I solve it? Yes, it's hard, but let's find a way. Or, what can I learn from this? You see, every challenge that you encounter is an opportunity for growth. You must learn to understand that it takes challenge, hardship, and suffering to grow. The more challenges you face, the more growth you will experience. Because a life without challenges and struggle is a life without growth and success. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, verily, after hardship comes ease. Verily, after hardship comes ease. And yes, I know I'm using this verse so many times, but it's because it's so powerful and so true. You know, we have to shift our mindset. We have to understand that hardship is important. It's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us, develops and turns us into the person that we need to become. But what kind of hardship is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually talking about here? Because we have actually two kinds of hardship. We have the hardships of not taking action, but also the hardships of taking action. For example, being lazy and undisciplined is hard, struggling financially is hard, having no real freedom is hard. It's hard to stay stuck in the Western system, but so does the inability to give back, constantly having low energy, bad health, the inability to invest in yourself, and not being able to provide for your loved ones. You know, you might be thinking, oh, chilling on the couch, watching Netflix, scrolling on social media, playing some games is a very easy option to live a simple, good life. But actually you're choosing the very hard way. And I understand, taking action is hard as well, but that hardship is leading to success. For example, trying to scale a business is hard. Finding good people, good friends, good business partners, that's hard. But it's also hard to avoid haram in your business, balancing wealth and faith, being disciplined and focused, eliminating distractions, learning a profitable skill, or waking up for Fajr, for example. All of this is hard as well. You know, the point that I'm trying to make is life is going to be hard anyway. But the beautiful thing is that you have the ability to choose your hardship. And I can understand that you're probably asking yourself, okay, I want to take action, but I don't know how or I don't know where to start. These were questions that I asked myself as well before starting my business and when I decided that I wanted to change. But the fun thing is that this doesn't matter. I mean, no successful entrepreneur was born with the success he has today. Same goes for no knowledgeable scholar was born with the knowledge that he has today. You know, everyone started with zero experience, zero knowledge, zero connections, zero money, etc., etc. And that's what makes life so interesting. It's about constantly leveling up. And while you are playing your games on your PlayStation and things like that, I'm trying to play the serious game of life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us in. And that's the only game that we really have to take serious. Because the final level is something that no one of us can escape. Every one of us will end up here. A place where all of our material success doesn't matter at all. All of the trophies, the successes, the money, the things, the cars, anything like that. It doesn't matter. We cannot bring it with us after we die. The only thing that we will bring with us are our deeds. The impact that we had on other people, the decisions that we made, how we spent our money, the way we interacted, the things that we did for the world. You know, life is just a big test and we constantly need to make a decision between good and bad. And that's why it's so important to work hard, be consistent, and be a lifelong learner in order to not get distracted from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. And the best way to fast forward your growth is to choose your friends wisely. You've probably heard of the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But when looking into the Hadith and the Quran, it reminds us of the same thing. For example, our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, a person is upon the religion of his close friend. So let one of you look at whom he befriends. It is very important that you choose friends that uplift you, motivate you, and stimulate you to do good things. I mean, probably every one of us have experienced people that actually have a very negative influence on us. And this is so important because who we surround ourselves with will determine where we will end up. For example, you can be a Muslim trying to practice your deen and focusing on creating a better future. But if you're surrounded with a lot of haram, negative people, friends that stimulate you to do things that are not good, constantly distractions, everything like that, it's very hard to stay on the right path when you're surrounded with such distractions. But if you build an environment around you where you can focus on the things that are important to you, following the values and principles of the Quran, having friends that stimulate you and remind you of Allah, of your daily prayers and things like that, people around you that having families with the right values, but also focusing on leveling up on every aspect of life. You see, what kind of impact would that have on your growth? Stop thinking in problems, start building, and think in solutions. Same goes for building a business. In order to develop a growth mindset in business, you need to understand the possibilities in this world. Now, let's zoom a little bit more into that. And trust me, this will be mind-blowing for you. When you look at the world, we currently have a population of 8.2 billion people walking on this earth. And all of those people are constantly interacting, trading, buying, shopping, and interacting with each other every single day. I mean, this world is just a globe full of transactions. Just take a quick moment to look around you. You probably have a phone in your hand or laying next to you that you paid money for. You live in a house that you need to pay money for, that is in a neighborhood with even more houses. You're wearing clothes that you paid money for. You're sitting on a chair that you paid for. I mean, every single thing, literally every single thing that you see around you is something that an entrepreneur created and is having a business model behind it. I mean, really, opportunities are everywhere. And from now on, you are going to see this world in a different way. Because a Muslim with a growth mindset is aware of these opportunities. But seeing opportunities is one. In order to really start building, we need to focus on the second thing, your habits. And now you've probably came across all those fancy routines, right? Taking cold showers, ice bath, doing meditation, journaling, going to the gym very early. But all of those things you can throw in the trash. Because the goal is not just to have some nice habits. The goal is to have habits that lead and serve you through your goals. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say that this man is very unhealthy, constantly eating junk food, very overweight, scrolling on social media, not having his life in order. But he decides that he wants to change. He wants to build a healthy life and take care of his body. And in order to reach that, you need habits that will get you there. But in order to develop habits that will lead you to your desired goal, you must understand the difference between action and motion. Now, let's look at this man again. Like I said, he decided to change his life. He decides to watch a lot of YouTube videos, inspiring videos, tutorials, how to train, how to optimize your lifestyle, things like that. He starts writing down his goals, journaling, all of those things. He's constantly thinking about his dream, the dream of becoming healthy. He even invested in a course and some coaching with videos and a whole program that teaches you how to optimize your life. And also, he bought a lot of products like sport equipment and things like that. I mean, that's amazing, right? He's really working very hard. Well, no. Actually not, because the only thing that he should be doing is get off of that couch and start going to the gym. And not just for one day, no, every single day. That's taking action. All of this is just motion. Because after all of these things that he did, constantly thinking about it, buying a course, writing down goals, watching videos, I mean, what actually happens? Nothing, you know? I mean, probably it feels that he's doing a lot, but actually he isn't. And some of these things are important, but it should not be more than 10% of your time. You see, 99% of all people are in motion all the time. And that's why they are not hitting their goals. Like I said, it's about taking action. And like I said in the beginning of this video, taking action is hard. You will probably experience a lot of difficulties in the beginning. You must learn and adapt, and probably in the beginning it feels like you're not even making any progress. But after a couple of days and weeks after staying consistent, you will notice that you start to improve step by step. And all of those little wins in between will lead to you developing into the person that you want to become. It's all about taking action. So don't be in motion. Because action leads to growth and is based on consistency and discipline, while motion keeps you stuck at the same place where you are right now and is most of the time based on temporary motivation. But before we can develop this habit of taking action, it is important to get rid of bad habits first. Now, let's understand how habits really work. A habit, in essence, is actually a cycle that repeats, starting with a cue leading to the behavior, the act that leads to a reward. For example, when you come home after a long day of hard work or a tough day at school, you grab a chocolate bar or something unhealthy and start scrolling on social media to take some rest. And that leads into the reward of dopamine and positive emotions in your brain, which is something that you repeat every single day after coming home from work or after coming home from school, but without you really noticing it. Your brain linked the couch and coming home after a hard working day or long day at school to eating chocolate and scrolling on social media. And while your brain tricks you into thinking that this behavior is a positive experience, you've actually developed a habit that is very unhealthy, can lead into obesity, low energy, and a lot of wasted time. And what most people then do is focus on this behavior and call that a bad habit, while actually you need to look at the cue. And there are two things that you can do. You can either eliminate it, or you can change the behavior that you linked to this cue. For example, instead of grabbing the chocolate when I come home after a long working day, I focus on my prayer and I read a few pages of the Quran. And that's the beginning of habit stacking, which actually means that you are going to link all of the cues in your day to your new habits. For example, after waking up, after brushing your teeth, after performing a daily prayer, after eating a meal, or after driving to work or coming back home. For example, you can say, every day after I wake up, instead of grabbing my phone, I will get up, pray Fajr, and read a few pages of the Quran. And that way, when you link all of those habits together, you build a systematic approach with habits that serve you. Now, at the end of this video, I want you to pause for a second and list out all of your bad habits. Identify the cue, the behavior, and the reward, and then eliminate or replace it by following the system that I just shared with you. Now that you understand a little bit more about how habits work, it's time to start focusing on time management. Because as Muslims, we constantly try to balance deen and dunya. You know, between all of the things that we have to do, work, trying to get money, doing our sports, focusing on our families, eating, and all of those things. And besides that, of course, we need to take some time for our deen as well, right? But why see the two as something separate? Why does deen and dunya needs to be something that we need to put in balance? Because what we actually need to ask ourselves is, what is our deen? What does this mean? The answer is very simple. It's the way of life. I mean, I don't know what you are seeing, but when I'm opening the Quran, I see the rules of life. I see how I need to treat my family. I learn about personality and good behavior, how to eat healthy and take care of my body that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me, the rules for marriage, the importance of brotherhood, and even how to work and trade in the right way. You understand what I mean? It's not balancing deen and dunya. No, your deen should be implemented in all of the things that you do. And by implementing the deen, the teachings of Islam, into our daily lives and all responsibilities, the dunya, we will live a good life that benefits both this life and the next one. But in order to handle all of our responsibilities, it's very important to plan out your whole schedule. And I know this is a screenshot of my calendar and I know it's quite crazy, but it is very important that you map out your days in the right way. But while doing that, please keep in mind that this world is temporary. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "O you who have believed, let not your wealth and your children divert you from the remembrance of Allah." Having a good structured routine and schedule is essential as a Muslim entrepreneur. Now, let me give you 2 tips in order to do this in the best way. Tip 1 is create reminders for your daily prayers, because this must be the fundament of our life. And also, when mapping out your calendar, start planning around your daily prayers if that's possible. Now, tip number 2 is use a time blocking system, which means that you schedule time blocks for specific tasks. And on the left here, you can see what most people are doing. They are very reactive and constantly shifting between tasks, going from social media to writing emails and things like that. But you are way more effective if you use a time block system, because being organized is the most important thing in order to remain focused. But in order to organize and create focus, you need to eliminate distractions, because distractions are creating the gap between where you are right now and the goals and the dream life that you want to live. Especially in today's world, it looks like everything is a distraction. You know, all of the things around us. The phone is constantly ringing, notifications, social media, entertainment, money, parties, all of that, games, you know. But what you must understand is that these are your biggest enemies. You need to distance yourself far away from these things and make sure that you only allow things in your life that are benefiting you. That's when you increase your focus in the right way. Now, let's talk about how apps and softwares can leverage your focus. Because there are certain apps and softwares that can help you with increasing your focus. For example, Notion, which is an all-in-one system that can help you with taking notes in your meetings, creating roadmaps for your projects, managing all of your tasks, creating product overviews, roadmaps, and even when you're working in a team, you can delegate all of the projects, tasks, and communicate it with your team. It's a very nice system that you can use personally, but also professionally in your business. Or one of the greatest life hacks is that I use Todoist for brain dumping, which means that I've installed an application on my phone where I can brain dump all of my thoughts or things that I need to do. For example, if you would ask me, can you send this email tomorrow? Then I immediately type it in my phone as a brain dump, which is connected to the software Flow that automatically take note of this task and integrate this with my calendar. It's an amazing system that even includes AI features where you can schedule your whole day in the right way. I mean, these are just a couple of examples, but there are so many tools that can make our life easier. Just use this to your advantage. Now, let's talk about handling stress. Because, yeah, trust me, the process of growth, starting your business and all of that can be very stressful. Stress is really inevitable in the journey. But please do not forget one of my favorite ayahs, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Verily with hardship comes ease." This is something that you constantly need to remind yourself with. And understand that your stress level is something that you need to train and get used to. The more you grow, the further you get in your journey, the better you can deal with stress. Now, what I do to handle stress are a couple of things. One of the first things that I do when I feel overwhelmed is focus on my prayer. I mean, especially when you're in sujood. It is a moment that you can take time, talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and try to calm down. Also, something that works really well is reflecting. I see stress as a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I need to take some time and think about what I'm actually doing in my life. So I try to reflect and think, where does this stress come from? What can I do in order to eliminate it? How can I solve the problems that I need to deal with? Anything like that. Just like I said in the beginning of this video, we must make sure that we don't think in problems but in solutions. And by reflecting upon the situation, it's much easier to understand it and really find a solution, you know? Also, something that a lot of people forget, but what is very important, is physical exercise. You know, a strong body is a strong mind. If you deal with physical stress as well, it's also much easier to handle mental stress. And going to the gym, going for a run, or any other sport is also a really good way to free your mind a little bit. And one other thing that you need to keep in mind is that it's also important to just learn to deal with it. We really need to accept that it's part of the journey And also, we can make it a little bit fun, right? I mean, sometimes in my business, things are going so wrong, and it even can make me laugh a little bit. Because if you understand that it's part of the journey, and it's actually huge lessons that you can learn, then you can actually see it as opportunities, right? I mean, problems, stress, and things are just signs that there is something to learn. And you can make that fun, as long as you remain and stay positive. You remember this image from the beginning of this video? I mean, it's not important what comes at you. The challenge doesn't matter. The important part is how you react to it. And the most important thing in that process is having tawakkul, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever we face a stressful situation, we need to trust in Allah's plan. I mean, you're probably familiar with this famous drawing. You know, when you make a plan, you just want it to go in a straight line. But Allah's plan, God's plan, always looks a little bit more like this, because His plan is to strengthen us along the way. We need that hardship. All of those stress, struggling, hardship is a blessing that makes us stronger and leads us to the ultimate goal Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for us. Now, let's optimize your workspace a little bit, because that's very important as well. Because your workspace determines the mental clarity and focus that you have. For example, here on the left, you can see a desk that is a complete mess. And your desk will actually be a reflection of your clarity and focus. So if your desk is a mess, your focus will be a mess as well. And on the right side, you see an example of a more clear and structured desk, which will lead to more increased focus as well. You see, your workspace and desk should be focused on you working and getting things done. Anything else is a distraction. So just remove all of the unnecessary stuff. It's just as simple as that, but very necessary and therefore part of this list. Now, the last and most important thing is that we focus on staying consistent and disciplined. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, the most beloved of deeds to Allah are those that are consistent, even if they are little. And I mean, people put too much meaning into the word motivation. And of course, motivation is maybe what gets you started, but discipline and consistency is what gets you going and growing. Because it's very normal that motivation decrease. And if you depend too much on motivation, you will probably give up very soon. Because motivation, most of the time, is very external. It's the results that you're getting or that you want. It's the people around you, or maybe the weather or your mood. And while motivation most of the time is decreasing, discipline is stacking up. Because discipline is more internal. It's your why, it's your real purpose. It's the guiding star that you see, and the key in order to reach all of your goals in life. And the 5 daily prayers are the best example of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showing us the importance of structure, routine, consistency and discipline in our days. You know, we cannot have an excuse for our daily 5 prayers. You know, we cannot have an excuse to not pray our 5 daily prayers. When we hear the adhan, we need to leave everything that we have and start performing our prayer on specific moments of the day, every single day, without any excuses. And this is how we should look at all of the other habits that we want to implement in our lives. Now, one other thing that I want to share with you, which is actually a little bonus, is that you track your progress. Because the most amazing thing is when you start at your journey, that you can look back and see what kind of progress you have made. I mean, I remember that I made a progress tracker myself that I used in the beginning very much. Actually, this one is made in Notion, the software that I shared with you earlier in this video. I listed out my 5 daily prayers, the daily outreaching that I wanted to do, focused work, gym, cold showers, anything like that. And I tracked how much of it I did during my days. But you can make it as simple as a notebook where you just write down your daily to-dos, your goals and the things that you want to do, and keep yourself accountable of doing that. And this way you can see the progress that you are making. Because it's all about the small steps that will lead to those big goals, you know. And when you focus on improving all of these 7 aspects, you will build an unstoppable mindset that will serve you as a Muslim. Now, if you are curious about how to leverage this mindset and use it in order to build your own business and real wealth in a halal way, then I've got some extra information and documents that I would love to share with you completely for free. When you click on the first link in the description of this video, you will be able to access it and implement it right away. I hope this video was beneficial for you. I'm rooting for you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you on the right path and make you successful in all aspects of life. I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.